y'all, here we go. It is Sunday afternoon. David Abraham here. I'm out here in the back of my yard, and you guys like the way this looks? This looks fantastic. It's natural. It's what I wanted to do. In fact, right out here is where my garden used to be. Anyway, David Abraham here, Sunday afternoon. It's August the 13th, 2022. We're in a real critical time well, let me back up. We're always in a critical time, but more importantly is where we're at individually with our sovereignty. This is something that Jesus tried to teach us. Know ye not that ye are gods? And so you have sovereignty. And people don't really understand what that means. And I hope that I can do a little better explaining it. And my little dog up there, little Daisy. She's busy. But sovereignty is something that is guaranteed by God, that we're individual beings. We have great power within us, but we've had an anchor thrown on us for thousands of years, emotionally, spiritually, and the energy that we need to be who we naturally are, is not even begin to show yet. Now, when we have thoughts, emotions, and all that, it's kind of touching into it. And the thoughts are the way that we need to be working with the higher dimensions. We exist in all dimensions at the same time. The only part we're really keenly aware of is obviously the one that we're in the physical dimension. And when we're in this physical dimension, we're only seeing 10% of what actually is. And that's something we need to, we look at ourselves and we think about what's missing from my life. What is something that I'm not getting that I want to know about. And most people, they're unfulfilled. They have all kinds of, I just feel something's not right. I go to this church and that's great, and I go to that church and that's great. Well, church, I went to church for many, many years, but church is not where God is at. No, obviously, God is within. And when God is within, we have the full power of God within us. We just have to develop the ability to raise our vibrational level, and that has to do with full confidence, full faith, knowledge, understanding of how emotional energy works, the energy of the heart. It gives off a frequency. Everything living out here gives off a frequency. And once we understand frequency, and we take an effort to try to match the frequency of the higher dimensions by love, forgiveness, and ego, that's probably the biggest problem that we have to really moving into the next dimension. Anyone who's as awake as I am, and I got looked at like I was some sort of charlatan because I was prophesying all this stuff, and I've now prophesied that the end times have been rewritten. There'll be no Armageddon. I really don't believe that, and I felt that, and I feel the energy because something changed. Timeline change, and I've talked about this in other videos. We had a timeline in 2020 that came and went, one at 2012 that came and went. That was the big one. We got through that, according to what I understand. Now, I reported on this stuff before I knew what was going on. I talked about 2012 and I didn't really understand, but now I do. That was a big marker. That's when Armageddon was supposed to be kicking in, 2012. Well, we all know that didn't happen. Here we are. Now we got to another timeline. This is the one that's going to open up the new dimensions. We crossed into it last year at 2021. And what we crossed into was a energy band in the galaxy. It comes around every 500,000 years, however long it takes us to orbit the galaxy. But humanity's been on this planet for about 200,000 years. Maybe more, maybe a little less, but quite a while. And the creation story obviously is a metaphor, and I understand about all that. It makes a whole lot of sense now. It really clicks. I'm walking the the creation story, it's important to have a perspective on who Adam and Eve were. They were obviously not of this world. They weren't born here, but they were true beings, and they were brought here. But we have the story of God created him from the dust. Well, he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils. That's the metaphor. He got the spirit, and that's when the breath went into him. And that's what it means. Okay. Now, when we're looking at others, this is how we get into the next dimension. This is important. You got to look at yourself. Do you have anger? You feel like someone owes you something, or do you feel like there's just unresolved things? You need to find out what they are. Humble yourself, get rid of your ego, and focus on what is keeping your energy from bound up to where you cannot fully expand into all dimensions, mentally and emotionally. If you can close your eyes and you can start traveling on thought energy. And I've done this. God did it to me, I should say, a couple years ago now. Maybe it's 3 years ago now. I'm sitting on my back deck, and I'm sitting right up there, and I'm just pondering on things. And next thing I know, my mind is taken off, and it goes out of our solar system, and it goes out of our galaxy, goes past the next galaxy, and they're going past me as just like I'm going down the highway at 75 miles an hour, and the white stripes on the road are just blurring by. And that's kind of what was going on with me. I was mentally traveling in thought. God was showing me that they're, according to his creations, go everywhere. They go on forever. God is everywhere. He's in every piece of living tissue, living organism, whatever it may be. It's all part of God, his consciousness. And once we understand that and how it all works, then we learn about these crystalline grids and the crystal energy and wavelengths within us, and all these kinds of things take time to absorb. But just know this, World War III ain't coming, and I reported on this a while back. Now I know it's not. I just feel very sound and sure about that. And I think that there's already been another world created for those who want to ascend and of the consciousness of God. They've gotten rid of the ego and the fears and the doubts, and they're looking at the future. They see things. They have dreams, and visions and these sorts of things. If you've not had a vision of a dark and dreary place, and you're not going to go there, if you've had a vision of a glorious and grand place where there is a higher dimension of living, of beings and all that, you'll go there, and dreams, and there's just so much. There's just so much, and I wish I can't put it in words, but this is pretty much important. Remember to stay focused on love, forgive those who've offended you, and always be, don't take offense. I'm not there yet. I'm not perfect. I understand what I got to be doing. I do. Y'all like these pokeweeds? Look at these things. I watch the doves come out here, and they'll eat these berries. They just love them. And this is my first pokeweed plant that puts out all these berries, and it's about done. It's got another 2 weeks at the most, and it's done. And that's fine. I'll cut it down. Its purpose is done. But there's more. But the pokeweed helps with inflammation and pain. I drank it. I prepared it. Anyway, focus that you have this spiritual energy, which it goes into, like I mentioned, all dimensions. And it never sleeps. It never rests. It's your soul. It's the energy of spirit. It can never sleep. And it's part of God and his creation. And when we recognize that we are God, we just don't have the divine powers bestowed upon us yet because of our ability to understand. Okay? All right. Well, may God bless you. May you be strengthened this day in love. Have a great day. And so it is.